Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the New York Islanders being eliminated from the 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs. So we'll be going over that today. So it's been a rough year for the New York Islanders as they are missing the playoffs for the first time in 4 seasons. They made the playoffs 3 straight seasons, going to the Eastern Conference Final, Game 7 against the Tampa Bay Lightning the last 2 years. And just like that, how the mighty have fallen. The Islanders will not even compete in the postseason this year. A really devastating year for the Islanders, and it's just one of those things where you're like, things just did not go right for the Islanders, especially early on this season. So to start off, the Islanders had, I think it was 16 or 18 straight road games to start the season as UBS Arena was still being built. It was not ready for opening night of the season, and they had to wait until, I think, December once the building actually opened for their first game. And the damage was already done by that point. I think most people could have said the Islanders season's over already. I mean, it was that quick. By the end of November, Thanksgiving time, the Islanders were out. I mean, it was like, I think they were like bottom 5 in the NHL standings. It was bad. And then they had those first couple games. They played Calgary their first game. They lost. They lost to the Rangers in the first Islander-Ranger game at UBS. Things did not go well for the Islanders early on, and that was a team that really struggled. And then once things started to turn around just a little bit, they got over the corner just a little bit. Nope, knocked right back down. COVID comes in and just destroyed, just obliterated any chance of the Islanders making the playoffs. Now, this is where the NHL theorists will come out, the Illuminati and stuff like that will come out and say, well, the Islanders kind of just got beat up by everything. Like I said, they had the arena situation, then they finally come home, and then they had COVID. The NHL did not, they did not stop the Islanders from playing until another week and a half of damage was done. And key games against the Rangers and the Penguins, they had to get those home game attendance numbers in when the Islanders first came into UBS. So they couldn't, that's been the theory, is they couldn't postpone those first couple games because of the grand reveal of the stadium, right? So I don't know. It's one of those things that things could not have gone worse for the Islanders. And I'm saying that, and make excuses all you want, this and that, but I mean, it's hard to ignore that things did not go well for them. And when you consider where the Islanders have come, I mean, they were, like I said, they were, I think, third worst in the. I think they were dead last in the NHL at one point. And you look at where they're at now. They have 80 points this season, and the potential to get to 40 wins this year. Like, how frustrating is that? It's so incredible how that beginning of the year just torched them. And I'm not saying they would have been good in the playoffs this year, because there is still some question about that. But this is a team that's built for the playoffs. If they get into the playoffs, they're going to be a tough out. And the fact that they didn't make the playoffs, it's kind of just showing you where things are at right now. In the Metropolitan Division, I mean, the landscape is ever changing there right now, and I just talked about the Blue Jackets being eliminated because the Islanders and Blue Jackets both kind of got eliminated at the same time. You're looking at a division with just so many teams that are making it, right? You have Carolina, Pittsburgh, the Rangers, Washington. Those are 4 teams in your division, let alone the Islanders and Columbus. Then you have New Jersey and Philly. Those are the only 2 not good teams, right? Like, everybody else, the top 5 teams in the Metro, like, it's incredible. And you look at, let's put it this way. So the 4th best team, or the 5th best team in the Metropolitan Division. Let's play this game. The 5th best team in the Metro is the Islanders, okay? They have 80 points. The 5th best team in the Atlantic is Detroit with 70. So there's a 10-point gap with basically this, and with the Islanders, having a game in hand. So they have one more game to even tie up with Detroit. So they could be 12 points ahead of the Red Wings. Again, semantics at this point, doesn't matter. None of them are making the playoffs, but it's just one of those things that you're like, just things couldn't have gone worse for the Islanders in that regard. Now, looking at the team stats, so power play wise and You knew I was going to have to get to this. The Islanders power play 21st in the league. The Islanders have never really had a good power play. That is always been the theme of the Islanders. They struggle to score goals. And when you're leaving Oliver Wahlstrom scratched and out of the lineup, those are the questions I have about Barry Trotz. That's the kind of stuff that it's just like, why is he not playing? I understand. Is there like this Josh Hosang effect going on? Like, what is happening there? Because the more that you do that, this happened in the Islanders' old regime with Gar Snow. He refused to bring up Nino Niederreiter, right? The highly thought of top 10 draft pick of the Islanders. I remember him at his blue and white game for the Islanders. He was scoring crazy shootout goals and stuff like that. And they ended up trading him. He went to Minnesota, successful. He's gone to Carolina, also been successful. It sucks, but this is what happens when you don't, have your guys that are there and they're not playing, that can score goals. Like, that's what you need. Why is he not playing? It blows my mind, and it's one of those things. I know he's not the best defensively, but is Ovechkin the best defensively? Yeah, but he scores a ton of goals, right? So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of that, because I think Wahlstrom has to be freed out of his cage. Like, he's not getting the opportunities when he's up in the press box. It's crazy to me. But here's a little bit of positive. So the Islanders power play not good. Penalty kill, though, still fourth best in the NHL, only behind San Jose, Pittsburgh, and the Carolina Hurricanes. So, I mean, that's pretty damn good. They have a better power play, the better penalty kill than Calgary and St. Louis, who are both highly thought of teams in the Western Conference, as well as Colorado. They have a better penalty kill than them. The Islanders are doing well in that category. But again, it comes down to the Islanders' struggle in terms of scoring goals. And that's been the theme of this team. They're good at keeping the puck out of the net, but when it comes to putting the puck in the net in crucial, critical situations, that's where the Islanders have faltered. And that's been the story since Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello have come in. So this is another little bit of positivity here. Ilya Sorokin. I think Sorokin is not getting enough love for the Vezina Trophy conversation. He's been better than Shesterkin. I mean, if Shesterkin's in the conversation, Sorokin should be as well. Now, again, I know Shesterkin's going to the playoffs with the Rangers, and I may be a little bit biased, but, I mean, Sorokin's been lights out for the Islanders. So, I don't know. It's just frustrating when you look at a goalie that's had such a good season not make the playoffs. It's like, it should be like that should be like against the law. It's a crime. You look at his goals against 2.32 and a 927 save percentage. I mean, what more do you want from the freaking guy? And you also count, he's got 25 wins on the season. So it's like he wins every other game he's on the ice. In terms of his 49 starts, he's got 25 wins. So I don't know. And, Varlamov's had a rough year. He's won 1 of every 3 games. He's won 9 of 28 games. That's 1 of every 3. So, he's been struggling this year. But he's still got a 915 save percentage, which is not terrible. So like I said, I mean, you just compare these stats to other goalies around the league. I mean, Sorokin should at the very least be in the conversation. He's tied for the franchise record for like 7 or 8 shutouts this season, in a season. I mean, just Sorokin carried the Islanders, and it's just frustrating that's where they're at. So that was supposed to be the positive news. Now, this is actual positive news. So, since the new millennium, right? We're going to break this up into 2 categories. So, from 2000 to 2013, and from 2013 up until now, 2022. So, the first 13 years of the millennium and the last 9 years. So those first 13 seasons of the new millennium, the Islanders made the playoffs 5 of those first 13 seasons, right? Under the Garth Snow era, right after Mike Milbury pretty much in 2000 and Rick DiPietro, and yeah, we love to remember that time, right? So they made the playoffs 5 of 13 seasons. In the past 9 seasons, the Islanders have made the playoffs more in those 9 seasons. They made the playoffs 6 of the past 9 years. So the Islanders are doing pretty well in that regard. In the past decade, I mean, again, it's not 9 of 10 seasons or 16 straight like Pittsburgh or something like that. but it's so hard to make the playoffs. And I talk about this when I talk about my teams that clinch the playoffs, right? But the Islanders are a perfect example of how hard it is to make the playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference this year. And the Islanders might have had a better shot. I mean, I think the Islanders were the team to make things interesting, considering how far along Columbus and Detroit went this year. It's definitely some hope there in the Northeast in that regard in terms of those teams. But when you start to look at the Islanders, I mean, if they won even 5 more of those games, I mean, they are close enough to Washington where they could have made things interesting. They're 17 points back of Washington. But if we don't account for how things went that first stretch, the Islanders could be right freaking there. But at the end of the day, they're not. They missed the playoffs this year. Maybe this is the best thing for them, right? We talked about this when John Tavares left in 2018, right? It was so fun. It was so rough when JT left. But maybe that consequence is what the Islanders need to do something this offseason, because Lou Lamoriello has been very quiet. I think he will be quiet again this offseason. I think his mentality is, listen, had we not had COVID and the new arena situation, we would have been a playoff team. But I think that's to a fault, because the Islanders have played well. Yes, they've had some good games. They beat the Rangers to end the season, 2 games at MSG, which I went to one of those games. Thank you, Varley, for the shutout. So the Islanders have played well in those games. But then they've lost games. They've lost games that if you're a playoff team, you should be winning. I've been to some of these games. The Colorado Avalanche game at UBS. The Tampa Bay Lightning game at UBS. Those are games that the Islanders let slip away. And that's where you see the skill difference between the Islanders and those high-end teams. And it just wasn't there for the Islanders this year. And you also take a look at the Florida Panther game. Again, it's like, yay, moral victory, we get a point, which is the worst thing the Islanders can do right now. Please stop losing games in overtime and shootout. Like, it's not helping your case. I guess it doesn't matter. The Islanders are going to get the 16th spot anyway, and unlike the Rangers, they will get the 16th spot and not move up to the first overall pick. That's how things work in the Islanders' land. So I don't know. That's kind of where we're at right now. I'm at a loss, but I realize that there is some flaws to this team, and the mentality is very old-fashioned. And I think that it sometimes helps the team because you keep things very simple and to the point, and it's easy to kind of stick with, but it's also to a fault, I think, as well. And unfortunately, we saw teams kind of exposed that this season. The dump and chase didn't work for the Islanders as well as it has for the past 2 seasons. And teams have started to pick up on the Islanders, starting to pick up on what the Islanders are putting down. Like I said, the past 3 years, it's been successful under Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello. But for the first time in 4 seasons, the Islanders will miss the postseason. So guys, that is it for today's video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Islanders going into next year? Do you think they make the playoffs next year? Do you think this year was just a bad season? Just things didn't go well for the team? Or do you think the Islanders will miss the playoffs next year as well? Let me know what you guys think. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and let's go Islanders.